After the fake heiress who used to bully me had her body taken over by a transmigrator, she became everyone's favorite. The boy who was bullied alongside me fell for her. My longtime best friend called her innocent and kind. Even my fiancé, who had seen me being tormented with his own eyes, said she had changed. My parents even brought her back into the family and told me to accept her. The transmigrator was gentle and sweet, while I was the one falling apart and pushing back. Little by little my friends drifted away from me and my parents grew more and more disappointed in me. Then the day before the wedding, Nathan Sterling asked, "Do you really have to push her to her death before you'll forgive her?" I stared out the window and shook my head. Nathan snapped, "This won't do, that won't do. Fine, stay trapped in the past for the rest of your life then." I froze for a second, but when I turned around all I saw was the door slamming shut. He didn't know. The past was agony and the present was no better. I'd already reached the point where I couldn't keep living. That night I climbed over the railing of the bridge and finally found release. When my soul drifted to Nathan's side I could still feel the cold. The river water at midnight had sunk into my bones, and my mouth and nose were still full of that muddy earthy stink. I saw Nathan hammering away at his phone. I was just about to lean closer and peek at the screen when I heard my mother's voice. All because Blair was going to be her bridesmaid, and now she's so mad she's calling off the wedding. How did I give birth to a monster like this? My father sneered. We spoiled her rot. We sent her overseas for years to get treatment and she still comes back making one life or death scene after another. If I'd known it would turn out like this, we never should have brought her home. 5 years ago, Blair Bennett, the fake heiress, was sentenced to prison for multiple crimes. I was sent overseas because of my mental illness, studying while I tried to recover. Nathan came to see me every month for 5 straight years. He studied psychology for me, learned how to cook for me, traveled with me, walked with me, sat with me in silence. Then a month ago on New Year's Eve, Nathan proposed and I ran. He sat outside my apartment building and texted me apology after apology all night long. It rained the whole night. He stayed out in it until he spiked a fever that turned into pneumonia. After hiding from him for 3 days, I finally decided to be brave just once. Nathan had wrapped me in his arms and cried, "As long as I'm here, no one will ever bully you again." And now he was gripping his phone so hard the veins in his neck stood out. "We'll wait another 30 minutes, he said. "If she doesn't show, we'll replace her." His gaze landed on Blair. My parents exchanged a look, visibly relieved. My father let out a breath. "Then let Blair go get ready first before we run out of time." My mother still looked uneasy. "What if she comes back halfway through the ceremony?" Nathan gave a short, cold laugh. "Then she can deal with the consequences of her own mess." "No," Blair shook her head, her eyes red. "Ruby already hates me. What if she sees me taking her place at the wedding, has an episode, and starts saying she wants to die?" The sight of her like that dragged everyone's memories back to the surface. The day Nathan and I returned to the States, my parents brought Blair with them to pick us up at the airport. The second I saw the face that had haunted my nightmares for 5 years, I completely broke down. I started shaking so hard I lost control of my bladder, and then I blacked out right there in the terminal. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. My parents and Nathan were standing beside my bed. We spent all that money treating her for 5 years and she still can't handle any pressure at all. Blair suffered far worse in prison than she ever did, and you don't see her being this fragile. The wedding is only 3 months away. If she has one of her episodes in front of everyone, both our families will be humiliated. Nathan held my ice-cold hand. "Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, don't worry. We still have 3 months. I'll take her through exposure therapy." Exposure therapy meant facing the source of the trauma. He knew exactly how badly I didn't want to see Blair again, and he still made that decision for me. I was shaking so hard I had to squeeze my eyes shut and pretend to be asleep. The second they left, I climbed up to the rooftop. The wind was screaming around me, so fierce it nearly tore me off the edge. But just as I closed my eyes and let my toes slip out over open air, a violent jolt of electricity ripped through every inch of me. The pain hit so hard my whole body convulsed and I fell backward. Blair threw herself on top of me wailing. She slapped herself over and over, begging for my forgiveness. When my parents came running in, they pointed a finger in my face and called me a disgrace. Nathan didn't step forward. He only stood there with his brows drawn tight, exhaustion heavy in his eyes. Amid all the shouting, I lay there twitching in pain, and then I heard Blair's thoughts. "System, what's the completion percentage now? I seriously can't stand this dumb bitch of a female lead anymore. Hurry up and finish the mission so the original host can come back and deal with her. She's terrified of dying. Every time it's just for show. And this time she brought it on herself by being so damn unreasonable." Nathan's face turned cold as he threw that out and walked away. My parents looked delighted, already urging Blair to go change into the wedding dress. Maybe this was how happy they'd always be from now on. The daughter who embarrassed them would never get the chance to trouble them again. It felt like I was somehow bound to Nathan, forced to trail after him wherever he went. I watched him step into the smoking area, light a cigarette, and pull out his phone to refresh the screen over and over. When the message he wanted still didn't come, he smashed the phone in frustration. The screen shattered. I drifted closer and caught sight of a breaking headline in the blackened glass. "Police investigate headless female body found near the bridge. Identity not yet confirmed. There are still 20 minutes left. If you show up before then, we'll move abroad and settle there as soon as the wedding is over." Nathan took a hard drag from his cigarette and muttered the words under his breath. I tilted my head and looked at him. Then I thought about what we had fought over the night before. At the last minute, Nathan had swapped out the wedding dress I chose. He had also agreed with my parents and let Blair be my bridesmaid. On the mannequin by the floor-to-ceiling window stood a glittering mermaid gown with an off-the-shoulder neckline, cutouts, and a low back. Nathan had smiled and said, "She has great taste. This one is prettier than the dress you picked, and it suits you better too." All the color drained from my face. Still holding my hand in a grip I couldn't break, Nathan pulled me over and made me touch the tiny crystals sewn into the gown. It was beautiful, but the crystals dug into my skin. In the month since I came back to the States, my parents and Nathan had gone out of their way to make sure Blair and I crossed paths again and again. And every single time I had a violent reaction. At first I climbed rooftops. Later I swallowed pills, ran into traffic, or slit my wrists. Every time I was saved because of Blair and the thing called the system. She used the mission points she earned from completing tasks to keep me hanging on by a thread. But because I never died, my parents and Nathan decided I was all bark and no bite. Everything I did in their eyes was nothing but me picking a fight. I frowned and Nathan's tone turned sharp. I already agreed to move the wedding up and we're leaving the country the second it's over. You don't like her, fine, then you won't have to see her again after that. I've done so much for you, so why can't you even cooperate over something this small like changing the dress and adding one bridesmaid? Everyone else has moved on, you're the only one still this petty and classless. The dress is beautiful, I said, but it shows too much skin. It's not right for me. My hands were trembling as I pushed up my sleeve and showed him the dense web of scars on my arm. Nathan's pupils contracted slightly and conflicting emotions flickered in his eyes. When I bent down to roll up my pant leg too, he grabbed me. Enough, I froze, then forced out a strained smile. Did you forget, in that warehouse Blair pressed a curling iron all over my body? You were the one who pulled her off me. You were the one who took me to the hospital. Nathan jerked his hand back like he'd been burned. That's all in the past. She's known she was wrong for a long time now. When you were sick, she went straight from the hospital to church, crawled up the steps on her knees and brought back a blessed medal for your safety. When you weren't feeling well, she made soup and cooked for you every single day, dropped everything off and left, terrified you'd find out. You've been overseas too long, so I get why you don't want to believe she's changed. I'm not asking you to get along with her, but you can't keep acting like this over the wedding. If you want your mental health to get better, you have to change too. Just think of it as doing it for our future. Can't you try? Nathan's eyes were dark and the look in them made my heart pound with dread. Still, I clung to one last sliver of hope. I can wear the dress, but can't the bridesmaid at least be someone else? No matter how many times I saw that face, it still terrified me. Nathan avoided my eyes. Just this once, I'm doing this for your own good. Then we call off the wedding. My eyes red, I stepped back and shoved the gown over with all my strength. If I couldn't even decide what dress to wear or who stood beside me at my own wedding, then I didn't want one at all. Tomorrow is the wedding and you're saying now that you won't marry me. Can't you think about the bigger picture for once? All the blood in my body seemed to go cold. In that instant, I understood exactly why he had waited until the last minute to tell me. He wanted to force me to compromise for the so-called bigger picture. I looked at him, lost and disbelieving. Just because she's become a better person in your eyes, does that mean I'm supposed to forget everything she did to me? He'd been hit right where it hurt and he snapped. You are impossible. He had only been gone a short while when my parents arrived with Blair. When are you ever going to grow up? Ever since we brought you back, you haven't given us a single day of peace. If there's conflict in a family, you talk it out and move on. We've accepted Blair again. Even those friends of yours have accepted her again. So what exactly are you still being so dramatic about? My lips parted, but no words came out. Blair had once stolen confidential files from my father's company and sold them to a competitor, nearly driving the business under. She had drugged my mother and dumped her in a homeless encampment to humiliate her. A male classmate who had been bullied alongside me had his arm and leg broken by her. My best friend of many years had once been stripped in public by Blair, and the whole thing was filmed and posted online. And even after all that, they still forgave her. Blair dropped to her knees and started smashing her forehead against the floor. Ruby, you can hit me or scream at me all you want, but please don't call off the wedding because of me. I never should have helped pick the dress and I never should have agreed to be your bridesmaid. I know I don't deserve to stand in front of you, I know that, but I can't let go of Mom and Dad. If you're angry, take it out on me. Please don't punish innocent people because of me. She kept slamming her head down as she spoke until blood started running down her face. My parents tried and failed to stop her. In their fury, I was shoved hard. Are you mute now? Say something. So are you getting married or not? I staggered backward from the force of it and crashed to the floor. A sharp, dragging pain twisted through my lower abdomen and then a strange electronic voice rang in my ears. Well done, host. Your family favorability score has reached 95%. Once the wedding is over tomorrow, your mission will be complete and you'll be able to leave this story world for good. My parents tore into me. They threatened that if I dared skip the wedding, they would have me locked away in a psychiatric hospital for the rest of my life. Then they rushed off in a panic, taking Blair with them after she'd practically knocked herself unconscious. Not long after they left, I got 2 texts. Blair, Nathan personally took me to try on the dress. It was beautiful and fit me perfectly. He said the one you picked made you look like a mummy and wasn't fit to be seen. Blair, he also promised that once your wedding is over, he'll take me abroad with him for school. Excited yet? Even now, looking back on that moment as nothing more than a ghost, my chest still tightened until I could barely breathe. Then a frantic shout suddenly rang out. Mr. Sterling, something's wrong. Nathan's assistant was drenched in sweat. The security footage at the hotel entrance shows Miss Bennett getting into a cab at 3 a.m. last night. The last place she was seen was the Brid. Nathan. Stop waiting for Ruby Bennett. She's not coming to the wedding today. A cool female voice cut the assistant off. It was my best friend Chloe Parker. Nathan frowned. Why? Chloe looked furious in that disappointed, fed up way only a close friend could. She called me at 3 in the morning begging me to help her run out on the wedding. When I said no, she immediately bought a plane ticket out of the country. You haven't seen her Instagram yet, have you? We've all been losing our minds looking for her and she's off vacationing in Cabo. She pulled out her phone and opened my feed. I drifted closer to look too. There was a location tag, there was scenery. The only thing missing was me, but Nathan believed it. His face went deathly pale. Good, very good. Let everyone know there's no need to keep looking. We're replacing the bride and the wedding is still happening. Nathan strode off. His assistant looked like he wanted to say something else, but Chloe stopped him. This is a wedding alliance between two powerful families. Do you have any idea how many important people are here today? If something goes wrong, are you really prepared to take the blame? That single sentence shut him up. Chloe let out a breath of relief and texted Blair. Chloe handled. A little while later, Blair appeared in the wedding gown she had chosen for herself. Her makeup was flawless, her veil sat perfectly over her hair, and joy was practically glowing from her face. I could hear her cheering inside her head. The favorability score is finally maxed out. Hurry up and let me leave the story world so the original host can come back. Nathan looked at her distractedly, his mind clearly elsewhere. Then all at once the shriek of police sirens split the air and the entire venue was surrounded. Nobody move. The suspect in a body dumping case is among today's wedding guests. We need everyone's full cooperation. The whole room exploded into chaos as the guests began whispering to one another. I heard they found a headless woman near the bridge with a huge rock tied to her ankles. Some guy out fishing even caught footage of someone lingering there for a long time. That's horrifying. Who could be sick enough to do something like that? In this day and age, how could anyone be so blatant about it? The news said the body was so badly mutilated they couldn't even identify who she was. Off to the side, my parents looked grim. My mother instinctively reached for her phone. She opened our chat history and a long string of WhatsApp voice messages she had sent me filled the screen. She didn't even have to play them. I remembered every word. Haven't we been good enough to you? Ever since we brought you home, haven't we given you everything you wanted? Yes, Blair was wrong to bully you for a while, but she went to prison for it. She already paid the price, so why can't you just let it go? They said bully so lightly as if it were nothing. As if they'd forgotten all the times I ended up in the ER with critical condition notices. As if they'd forgotten how my private photos spread all over the internet and how the harassment and abuse never stopped after that. Nathan loves you so much. From the day you were hurt to all those years you spent overseas getting treatment, he's been coaxing you, comforting you, standing by you. Can't you think about how hard this has been on him and compromise just a little? Nathan had stayed by my side for 6 years. He had stood up to Blair for me and kept me under his protection. And yet while I was overseas trying to recover, he listened to Blair cry and play the victim, then helped her make up for her crimes and get her sentence reduced. He was a good man, the kind of good man who always wanted to help the weaker one whether they were right or wrong. We never should have brought you back in the first place. If it weren't for you, none of this would have happened to our family. When I was 17, the couple who raised me tried to marry me off to a 60-year-old man for the groom's family payout. I ran, got dragged back, and was beaten until my face was covered in blood. Then they threw me into the back of a livestock truck that reeked of chicken droppings and left me there half dead. That was when the Bennetts showed up and told me I was their biological daughter, and that they were taking me home so I could finally live a good life. I clapped my hands over my ears, but those words still forced their way into my head, repeating over and over. Richard, I have a bad feeling. What if something really happened to Ruby? I saw that news report and the clothes on that body. Don't start that. Rotten people never die easy. There's no way it's her. My mother shook her head and fumbled across the screen until she opened my Instagram feed. The second she saw that travel post with the location tag, her expression darkened instantly. Oh, that headache of a girl. She dumped this whole mess in our laps and ran off to enjoy herself. My father scowled. Look at the way she's turned this whole house upside down ever since she came back. She can even walk out on a marriage alliance that affects the reputation of both families. I say the second she comes back, we cut her off for good. My mother hesitated, but my father pressed his hand over hers. We can't keep favoring her just because she's mentally ill. We need to think more about Blair since she's the sensible one. At worst, we give Ruby a little more money. The conflict in my mother's eyes disappeared almost instantly. Nearby, Nathan was helping the police question people and narrow things down. Standing beside him, Blair's expression kept shifting. I drifted closer and heard her arguing with the system. What do you mean the original host doesn't want to come back? Why do I have to stay stuck in this story world until I time out? The system snapped back with a few sharp replies, then went offline. Then a voice I knew all too well suddenly cut through everything, sharp and vicious. You bitch. You dug out my liver and kidneys to score points with those old bastards, donated my money to those two broke nobodies, and murdered that filthy bitch Ruby. And now you've still got the nerve to drag me back here to clean up your mess. Even as a soul, hearing that voice again made my whole body tremble. The real Blair Bennett had appeared. The transmigrator sounded completely unimpressed. You're the last person who gets to yell at me. If it weren't for me, you'd still be rotting in prison. Look at the life you have now. Mom and Dad adore you. Nathan dotes on you. Even Ruby's limping lawyer friend and her reporter best friend are on your side. What exactly do you still have to complain about? As for Ruby's death, I already used mission points to trade for an item that'll keep the police from tracing it back to you. Hurry up and switch back and so you can go enjoy your life. The transmigrator had used system items to get Nathan's attention and earn herself a reduced sentence. When my parents fell gravely ill, she quietly donated a liver and a kidney, then let them find out it was her. After that, she cried and said she knew she'd been wrong, and my soft-hearted parents took her back in. Lucas Hart, who had once been bullied by Blair too, was now a partner at one of Ashford's top law firms. When a rival hired someone to go after him, the transmigrator took the knife for him. Chloe Parker, the reporter Blair had once stripped and photographed, accidentally wandered into a dangerous transaction site and ended up being hunted down. The transmigrator was the one who helped her escape alive, even though every last one of those disasters had been engineered by the system. In their eyes, though, she really had turned over a new leaf. She had become the very definition of kindness and redemption. Blair roared, "Go ahead and fool those idiots, but don't think you're luring me back out just to send me to my death. Ruby is the female lead of this story world. You already got her killed. Once you leave, what chance do I have of surviving?" The calm look on the transmigrator's face shattered. I watched two souls fighting inside that numb body. Then someone came rushing over, voice flat and official. The victim's DNA comparison results are back. Preliminary identification confirms the deceased is Ms. Ruby Bennett. Mr. Sterling, we've also received a tip that a refrigerator in one of your properties contains what appears to be the victim's head. My mother shot to her feet first. That's impossible, absolutely impossible. Look, Ruby's in Cabo on vacation. She posted on Instagram not long ago. How could she possibly be dead? My father jumped in too. You've made a mistake. Ruby's always making one life or death scene after another, but she'd never actually go through with it. Nathan staggered unexpectedly, one hand braced hard against the back of a chair just to stay upright. He looked dazed. It took people calling his name several times before he finally came back to himself. Which property? Silvercrest Estate. All the color drained from Nathan's face. He turned stiffly and looked at Blair, whose face had twisted into something grotesque and vicious. Then he grabbed her by the arm and yanked her in front of him. "I'll let you stay there temporarily." "What did you do?" I went still. Silvercrest Estate was the house Nathan and I had designed for after the wedding. We had gone out of our way to consult a famous designer overseas, revising the plans again and again before we were finally satisfied. Every detail inside that house had been personally overseen by Nathan during the renovation. I had reviewed the finished work with him over video. Before returning to the States, I'd been full of anticipation waiting to see it in person, but somehow I never got the chance. Nathan owned so many properties, and yet the one he used to shelter her was the house we had prepared for after the wedding. A faint ache spread through my chest and I let out a long breath. Blair's face had gone paper white. "Nathan, you're hurting me. I've been staying at home this whole time. I have no idea what they're talking about. Maybe this is Ruby getting back at me. Maybe she pulled some stunt to frame me on purpose. Nathan, you have to believe me. I have no reason to do something like this." Her eyes shimmered with tears, full of shattered hope. Nathan looked unsteady and his grip loosened slightly. Blair sniffed hard. "I'm willing to cooperate with the investigation and clear my name. Even if Ruby really did set me up, I still won't hold it against her." Nathan shook his head. "It wouldn't be her. She didn't even know where that house was." I lowered my head and laughed at myself. Of course, the house that was supposed to be mine was one whose location I didn't even know. Just like my wedding, I couldn't choose my own dress or my own bridesmaid. Nathan and Blair were taken away for questioning. With the center of the spectacle gone, the guests quickly scattered. Nathan's parents and mine all looked terrible. As I was forced to drift after Nathan, I saw my mother calling me. First came the WhatsApp calls, then she tried my phone directly. Again and again and again, no one answered. She collapsed into a chair, shoulders curled in on themselves, fingers shaking. "Pick up, please pick up. Mom, apologizing to you, Ruby. I'll never yell at you again. I'll never force you again. Please answer the phone." Everything I said before was just out of anger. Her devastated sobs were carried off by the wind. I sat drifting beside Nathan in the car, pressed near the window. In the glass, I caught the reflection of my own face, swollen and pale blue with half my skull hacked away. I stared at it blankly, unable to remember how that had happened. The only thing I could remember was climbing over the bridge railing, giving up the struggle and letting myself sink. Nathan and Blair both had alibis, and the police found no evidence tying either of them to the killing. After taking their statements and holding them for a few more hours, the police could only release them once a call came through. "Nathan, do you really think that body could be Ruby?" Blair wiped away tears, looking dazed and traumatized. The DNA results were already back, and yet she spoke as if she still didn't know. Nathan didn't even look at her. "Give back every house key and car key I gave you. And from now on, without my permission, don't set foot on any property that belongs to Ruby and me." Blair's expression stiffened for a second. "What are you talking about? I really don't know anything. I'm innocent, Nathan. You can investigate me all you want. I swear I never did anything to hurt Ruby." Her face was all misery. Inside her head, though, she was screaming, "Idiot, why didn't you destroy that bitch's body completely?" "Nathan's definitely starting to suspect me now." The system answered, "I already warned you last night when the female lead got into trouble. If she disappeared, this story world would start collapsing. You were the one who couldn't bear to spend the mission points to save her. That's what caused all this. To save that piece of trash, I would have had to spend the points I'd saved up for years. The mission was almost over. How was I supposed to know it would still fail at the very end?" The transmigrator was spiraling. "If I use every point I have left now, can I bring the female lead back to life?" Nathan shook off her hand and went straight home. My parents were sitting on the couch, hunched over and crying into their hands. "Dad, Mom." Nathan stepped forward with difficulty, then dropped to his knees. "This is all my fault. I should have calmed Ruby down yesterday. I knew she had self-destructive tendencies and I still kept pushing her again and again." My parents said nothing. My mother only started crying harder, almost too hard to breathe. The whole room felt heavy, and yet I could feel my body growing lighter. When I had first been brought back to the Bennett family, my mother used to cry whenever she looked at me, heartbroken over everything I had suffered. But little by little, Blair started saying I had sticky fingers and stole from other students at school, that I used my allowance to lure some bleach-haired punk from off campus to a hotel, and that I even teamed up with other students to bully weaker kids. My mother never bothered to verify any of it. She believed every word. "Blair is the girl I raised. She would never lie. You may be my biological daughter, but you still spent over a decade out in the sticks. You picked up all kinds of bad habits there." She told Blair to keep me in line and teach me proper manners. Blair took that chance to lay hands on me a few times. When she realized telling on her did nothing, she only got worse. For a very long time after that, I never saw my mother cry for me again. Whenever our eyes met, there was nothing left in hers except endless disappointment and exhaustion. Later on, the thing I heard most often was that they never should have brought me back. Now my mother fought through her sobs and said hoarsely, "The police said this wasn't a simple suicide, it was a planned murder. Security footage from the hotel entrance shows Ruby getting into a cab with fake plates in the middle of the night. The bridge wasn't even the primary crime scene." My father wiped his face. Now's not the time for blame. We need to find the killer first, bring them to justice and get justice for Ruby. Nathan's voice turned cold. Ruby spent all these years living overseas. She had no chance to make enemies here. The only person she had any conflict with was Blair's. The moment Blair's name came up, the room fell silent for a few seconds. Nathan was already back on his feet, studying my parents' faces. On the way over, he had already sent people to keep an eye on Blair and investigate what she'd been doing these past few days. My mother denied it almost on reflex. No, that's impossible. Blair changed a long time ago. You've seen for yourself how she's taken care of us all these years. My father turned away, avoiding Nathan's eyes. We need to focus on whoever took Ruby's phone first. That person definitely knows something. Nathan lowered his gaze. And if it really was her? Would you still choose to protect her? After he said that, no one in the living room spoke for a long time. Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, this is bad. Blair on the roof threatening to jump and pay for Ruby's life with her own. Chloe and Lucas burst into the house at the same time. The three people in the room jolted and shot to their feet. I drifted after them like a kite trailing in the wind. On the rooftop, the cold wind howled. Blair sat on the ledge, her face and hair covered in blood, crying her eyes out. Below us, the firefighters had already inflated the rescue cushion and the gawking crowd had started live-streaming the whole thing. Blair, what are you doing? Get down from there. You silly girl, Mom and Dad believe you. This has nothing to do with you. Don't do anything stupid. My mother's legs nearly gave out. She collapsed into my father's arms and he had to hold her up to keep her standing. Blair shook her head. Her gaze swept over everyone who had arrived, tears streaming down like broken strings of beads. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry, I'm the one who should die. The man driving that cab was Ruby's high school boyfriend, the one who got her pregnant. He saw my Instagram post through someone else and found out Ruby had come back. She trailed off halfway through the sentence and looked at Nathan through blurred tears. Nathan's breathing turned ragged and his fist clenched hard. Shut up. Ruby's already gone and you're still trying to drag her name through the mud. Blair shrank back and exchanged a look with Chloe. Catching the signal, Chloe stepped forward and moved to block Nathan. She's not lying. I was the one who went with Ruby to that unlicensed clinic when she had the baby aborted. Chloe reached into her bag and hesitated for 2 seconds. I still have the exam report and the photos from back then. She pulled out a yellowed, curled copy of the paperwork and photographs. The writing warped in some unknown liquid. She held them high in the air and the pages rattled wildly in the wind. No one took them. My parents stared, eyes wide. Is this real? How did we never know about any of this? Chloe's face was full of grief. Ruby and I were best friends for years. Why would I smear her name after she's already dead? I just don't want any more innocent people getting dragged into this. Then, as if she were throwing caution to the wind, she asked, did Ruby ever tell you she wanted to stay child-free and never planned to have kids? It wasn't that she didn't want children. It was that the doctor at that illegal clinic gave her too much medication and ruined her body. She could never get pregnant again. Nathan forced himself a step forward, but just as he was about to reach her, his body swayed and he collapsed. I drifted there in the air, staring at Chloe and Blair, and memory pulled me under again. Chloe really had gone with me to that illegal clinic, but the one who was pregnant was her, not me. She had cried and begged. I don't know who Blair sent after me that night. Ruby, please help me. If my family finds out I'm pregnant, they'll beat me to death. Chloe had been my friend since childhood. Before my spending was restricted, I had paid for her to go back to school. But she insisted on transferring to the same school I attended. When she got there, I was so afraid Blair would go after her that I deliberately kept my distance. What I never expected was that she would get close to Blair on purpose and become one of her followers just for my sake, only to catch the eye of a rich playboy. It ended badly. The video of her being stripped spread across the school forum like wildfire. Ruby, I ended up like this because of you. You can't just leave me to die. Sign it in your name, then give me some money so I can recover. I'll transfer back home and keep going to school there. I swear I'll never bother you again. The face in my memory, streaked with tears and twisted in despair, overlapped with the numb, exhausted face standing in front of me now. I opened my mouth wanting to say something, but my spirit was already being pulled toward Nathan, and with that pull came the sudden realization that I was dead. The baby I was just under 3 months pregnant with had died with me. I placed a hand over my lower stomach and whispered softly, it's not that Mommy didn't want you. Mommy was just scared she couldn't protect you, scared you'd end up sick like Mommy too. Ruby, the man in the hospital bed, suddenly opened his eyes and reached toward where I was floating. I jumped. Instinctively I backed away, but at that exact moment the hospital room door opened. My parents had arrived. My father said the police caught the person who took the phone. They checked the evidence and he was the driver that night. He confessed to everything. My mother said Blair felt so guilty about everything that she went to light a candle for Ruby again. She also brought back a blessed medal for you. She handed Nathan the little cloth pouch with the blessed medal inside, tears still clinging to her lashes. Once this is all over, we'll arrange Ruby's burial. We've already picked out the cemetery plot. Nathan's expression changed abruptly. It's not him, he's not the mastermind. Where's Blair? He pulled out his phone. A text from his assistant had just come in. Assistant, Mr. Sterling, we restored the text messages from Miss Blair Bennett's backup phone. In the early hours of the morning, she sent Miss Ruby Bennett a series of provocative messages and deliberately lured her out. We also found video from a bystander showing the two of them meeting on the bridge. My mother's lips moved as if she still wanted to deny it, but then she suddenly clutched her side. She grabbed my father's arm hard. It hurts, but he wasn't any better off. Huge beads of sweat broke out across his forehead and his body swayed before he collapsed to the floor. The whole thing was so strange that Nathan just stood there frozen for a few seconds. Then he snapped back to himself and ran to get a doctor. When the test results came back, Nathan could barely stay on his feet. Acute kidney failure and end-stage liver cancer. That's impossible. Their physicals were completely normal last month. Then, as if a thought had struck him out of nowhere, he turned and bolted out the door. Nathan drove flat out, blowing through several red lights before slamming on the brakes in front of a villa. Silvercrest Estate. The house was huge and beautiful, even more stunning in person than it had looked over video. I had never imagined I would step into the house we had prepared for after the wedding like this. Nathan was clearly searching for something. He kicked open one door after another until he stopped at the master bedroom. It was locked from the inside. "Open the door, Blair, get out here." No one answered, but I heard something shatter on the floor inside. The real Blair was screaming in fury. "You're not getting away. You ruined my life, and every last one of you is going down with me." The transmigrator ignored the two voices raging inside her head. She clenched her teeth and shot back. "Nathan, what are you pretending to be heartbroken for now? If you hadn't let me get close to that worthless wreck, she never would have been driven to jump into the river. Bet you didn't know this either. She was carrying your child when she died." Nathan went rigid. He pressed a hand to his chest, disbelief written across his face, but the transmigrator still wasn't done with him. "That psychologist you asked me to introduce you to was someone I hired to play the part. He had no idea how to treat anyone. All he ever did was keep provoking Ruby. You were the one who forced her into treatment, forced her to get close to me, and drove her into the breakdown that killed her." The noise outside stopped completely. Thinking she had won, she leaned forward to jump. Then suddenly her body tilted. The hand gripping the window frame started trembling in violent spasms, her eyes going glassy and fixed. As if she had lost control of her own body, her head pitched straight toward the ground. The real Blair's crazed laughter pierced my ears. "I'm going to die no matter what, so none of you get to walk away and live happily ever after. If I'm going down, we're all going down together." There was a sickening thud. A fall from the second floor wasn't enough to kill her. But when her head hit the ground, it slammed into the sharp corner of the planter and blood instantly gushed everywhere. Outside, the wail of police sirens closed in from every direction. Nathan coughed up a mouthful of blood. His unfocused eyes lifted toward me again. "Ruby, I'm sorry, I didn't know, I really didn't know." He kept mumbling it under his breath, tears spilling out of his eyes. I ignored him and drifted downstairs. Nathan rushed after me, only to slam straight into the door so hard that he knocked himself unconscious. By the time he woke up again, 3 days had passed. Blair was in a vegetative state. 3 voices were trapped inside her body, arguing every day without end. My parents were still in intensive care and their condition was extremely grim. The doctors had already issued multiple critical condition notices. When Nathan woke up, he told his assistant to send Blair to a private care facility and make sure she was safe. The end.